Yes, we are live.
Yeah.
Nalini.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, good afternoon, and today we have Rohit as our speaker, and Rohit is a visual artist from Kolkata. Also, he is from Photography Design Batch 2014 from NID Gandhinagar. Rohit's practice involves photography, illustration, animation to tell stories, and he has been working with communities, landscapes, and socio-political phenomena in different parts of India, different geography. Rohit's graduation project involves research as well as a photo book about extrajudicial killings in Manipur, which was titled 1528, and it won the Alkazi Photo Book Grant back in 2017. Rohit, also popularly known by community as Saha, was awarded the Magnum Foundation for Photography and Social Justice Fellowship in 2018 and is a part of JUP SWAT Masterclass 2020. And he is currently based in Bombay, India. So, in today's session, he will be sharing with us his journey, his approaches, and his works, of course. So, Acha, by the way, after this session, it will be followed by a brief Q&A. So you can all ask your queries if you have any. And for those who have joined us using PC, they can use the raise the hand icon in the frame. You can see that below the speaker's frame, and we shall put them here. And those with mobile, they can type the questions in the chat box. So, yes, Bhargav. Yes,
Yeah,
Rohit.
so people can join. Like, if you want to ask in between questions, feel free to do the raise hand button. And okay, so Saha, go ahead.
Hi everyone, thank you all for joining us, or rather me talking to you guys on a Sunday afternoon. So maybe I'll begin with how I got introduced to photography, or rather, yeah. So it all started in when I was in class 11, and I was going to this chemistry tuition, and that was the place where I met this friend called Swastik Pal, and I guess. Both of us started disliking chemistry and we became friends, and then he became my guitar teacher and then another a more closer friend afterwards. And I guess that is where I can see the first chapter began of photography, rather of knowing Swastik Pal, of a person who he is. Cut to I joined Xavier's as a statistics honors student, and I don't want to be, and I couldn't really relate to what was happening in my class. And meanwhile, what happened was my friend Swastik had already began photographing, and that was when I saw his first body of work, rather called My Uncle Tukka. Okay, guys, can you see the screen?
Yes, yes, it's
Yeah.
visible.
Yeah. So I guess that is the first time I saw someone's work, or rather photographs, called this photo story called My Uncle Tukka by Swastik Pal. And I guess that was the first time what I felt was those photographs that I saw made me feel something more than just a visual piece of paper or a visual information on the screen. And I guess that was how I was more curious about, okay, these photographs are more than just photographs. These photographs rather talk to me, or rather make me feel something about, or rather, like I started looking at these photographs as if he's my uncle, and I really got affected. So sooner or later I asked Swastik that, will you guide me in, like, if I start photographing, would you help me make something, will you guide me, will you be my mentor? And during that time I was studying animation at St. Davis College, Calcutta. So there, in Calcutta, a small place called Bhawanipur, I began photographing this boxing club, which used to teach boxing to small kids, both boys and girls. And somehow I got really attracted to it. About within a city, you see men and women fighting in a ring, and with all the energy and action. So I began photographing it, and sooner or later I started understanding why they box, and the people attending to this training, and what's the reason behind it. Like, is it just boxing, or is it more than boxing? So later I found out that many sports quota, rather like things like boxing, helps you get a job at the government, with the government. So people started doing boxing because they wanted, or rather they wanted to secure a job in the government. Then that happened, and this was rather my first body of work which I made, and it got published in a place called Campus Diaries, which used to come out during that time in Calcutta. After that, what happened was I joined NID, and this was a very fun moment of my life, I guess. A lot of things changed. Like, this was the first time I was coming out of Calcutta, and studying outside Calcutta, and NID was a great place of learning. I feel more than the professors and the teachers, it was the environment, that was the friends who taught me a lot. And so I joined NID in photography department in the year 2014, and I'm very grateful to Rishi in that phase to be the man to look up to, because I feel he did not ever tell us to what to shoot, but he always showed us different ways of storytelling. And I guess he always encouraged us in whatever ways we were thinking. During that time, I feel I began doodling all over campus, and that is how I started making this series called Monsters Are Good. And I started doodling all over, like the school desks, even planes that I was traveling in, and I also made. So I'm talking about all these things because I feel all these things connect to what I do right now. Then I also started doodling on images, rather like in spaces of the campus. And while studying animation, I remember my graduation project for my animation course was I had photographed. I was photographing that time because I was traveling with this theater group in Calcutta called Lok, and I was making a lot of images of me traveling, and the theater group performing. And with them, I animated on them. I drew lines on them, animating them, and that became the final year project that I showed at Xavier's, and also during my interview at NID along with Boxing Diaries. So I had already begun scribbling on photographs, and soon semester one came to an end, and we start spending more time together with friends. And I guess NID, the moment I think of NID, the people whom I really am super grateful to are like Amar, Vinayak, Divya, Amisha, Nandita, and Aditya, Hari. And so I guess this core team, I guess, and my seniors, Bose, Mukherjee, and many other people, like not naming all, but I think discussions with them, talking with them, and sharing work, not only work but also music they listen to, movies, books, and listen to them talk, spending time with them, and rather everyone in the campus was very enlightening. Rather, getting new opinions about your work from someone from a different department was really helpful, I guess. Soon, I did my first body of work called The Queen, which I don't have photographs of, and then I saw another. Queen was the body of work which I did about transgenders in Ahmedabad city, where we spoke about urbanization. And then I did a body of work about my then partner and me, about how we were all dependent on uncertainty. Then first year came to an end, and then second year started, and I think this was the time when people began going for exchanges. And so this was the last class we all did as a class, like we all did as a batch of 12 students in our batch. And this was an assignment that was given to us about based on this story by Franz Kafka called Metamorphosis. And so we were asked to visually portray Metamorphosis, and we were given a week's time. And that is when I thought of myself as a photographer living during the time when Gregor Samsa had turned into a cockroach and then been buried. And I was talking about the time when this had already happened and the news had come in the newspaper. It was some fictional tale that I was trying to build up as a photographer living during that time. So what I tried doing is I tried to go to the place where this incident happened, rather the house of Grigor Samsa where he was kept, and I tried to photograph the house, or rather reminiscence of the house, and the backyard where he was buried, and also tried to recreate how Grigor Samsa had spent his last few days, about his mind and body conflict and about many other things. So this was photographs of me photographing a friend of mine called Savinay from Toy and Game Department of our batch, and I had explained him about what I was trying to do, and I think this project wouldn't have been possible without him agreeing to do it and him understanding what I wanted to tell. And it was in my room where I got help from by Bose about asking me how to use an extendable flash, and I made these images. And then after making these images, I printed on watercolor paper. And so I was always up with experimenting, and have always been broke, and I love the medium of Xerox. So I keep playing around. I keep making mistakes, and so I print the images, I write on them, paint on them, and rephotograph them and scan them, and then make the final body of work. So this was happening in, I guess, 2015. And what I do with this work, I keep revisiting this work every year, because I feel a certain way every year that attracts me or drags me to this body of work. And this is the cover of the book that I had made for this particular body of work. It's called I Live, I Die, I Live Again, I Dream, I Wake, I Dream Again. So I guess it was last year when I made a video of it, combining the scribbles and animation, which I might play for you guys. Uh, yeah, so that happened. So I edited this body of work last year again, and it was more like revisiting that space of mind. After this, I began this project called Because I Believe, which is based on alien or UFO sightings in India. And so it's that year the theme was you can do whatever you want. So I thought, why not look for aliens? Why not you look for UFO sightings? And so what I did was I tried to go to all the places which I read on internet where UFO sightings have been cited in the past 50 years in India. And while going to all these places, what I tried doing, I photographed all these places, and with all these places, I combined to form an imaginary island, which I say that the UFOs have been visiting us. So yeah, so this is like we got around 2 3 months. I covered the north, I covered the south, taking hikes from people, friends. uh, I was just looking for traces of. Uh, uh, According to me, I was telling them I did not see them, but I could feel their presence, so I photographed their presence. And this body of work is still a work in progress. I still don't know what to do with it. I'm still trying to figure out of how do I make this. So, and I feel like that many a times that I photograph on Instagram is a part of this project about how I have been looking for such supernatural or unnatural things or phenomena in the sky. Yeah, and then so during till this time I was just exploring my interests and like stories which were I was asked to do. And then came the final semester, and I guess the final semester did a lot of things for me, I guess. Because when I did the Because I Believe project, I don't think people really understood what I was trying to say. And not right now when I think of it, it doesn't really matter to me of thinking like if people understand it or not, because it was something that is totally up to me, of UFOs, of my interest, and I don't know. So that's why it's still, I think it's a work in progress, and I'm okay with people not understanding about it. And then it was the final year, and I thought of doing something that people could relate to. And I guess that is when I stumbled upon, this newspaper which said Iram Sharmila broke her 16-year-long hunger strike, demanding the repeal of AFSPA. And yeah, like so this was this newspaper clipping. I still remember I was sitting at the KMC and I was trying to look at what project to do, and I see this newspaper lying beside, and I read this thing, and it really interests me. Why? Because it's Manipur, and I'm from Calcutta, and I thought that, oh God, man, I don't know about a place, or rather about what's happening in Manipur, which is like 2 hours flight away from, sorry, 45 minutes flight away from Calcutta, and I don't know what's happening there. And it's only right now that after 16 years, when she decides to break her fast, is now when I know. So I guess that was the first time I got intrigued about educating myself about what went wrong there. And sooner it came to know that Iram Sharmila wanted to, stand for the elections, the coming year to 2017, as again, or rather for the chief minister post, where she wants to fight for the same cause but from a different route. So it was 2017, I guess 2016, when I first went to Manipur, and Manipur is beautiful. Like I couldn't imagine, like so what had happened was, before I drag you all to my Manipur story, I want to give you a brief intro why what had happened, why Ram Sharmila had started her hunger strike. So it was 2nd November 2000. Three Assam rifle vehicle convoys were crossing the village of Malum when the first vehicle was attacked by, and a loud explosion was heard. The truck toppled, but no army was killed. In retaliation to this, the troops started firing at the civilians waiting and walking towards the bus stand, killing 10 innocents immediately. As many as 42 people were dragged out of their houses and cornered and severely beaten up by the paramilitary forces. Iram Sharmila was 28 years old when Mallam massacre had happened. She, along with 20 other girls, were volunteering under HRA human rights activist Bablu Loitong. Uh, so what had happened that Iram Sharmila was reaching up to different victim families at that time to write the petition which they would submit to the Supreme Court. And 2 days after the massacre, she started a 16-year-long hunger strike protesting the repeal of AFSPA. And I guess it was, you know, once she was arrested, because since it's what do I say? It's illegal, or not illegal. It's unlawful to attempt to commit suicide under the Indian Penal Code. So she was arrested, and then she was force fed by nasogastric intubation method, which is a tube which is pushed through your nose, and you are pushed liquid food throughout. So this kept on happening for the next 16 years, where she was rearrested and released till August 9th, 2016 happened, and Iram Sharmila decides to end her fasting by tasting honey. He says the end of her hunger strike is not the end of a movement. There will be a new beginning. So till then, all these things were notes from the internet that I had been looking at and the articles that I was reading. And one of my main concern was, how do I finish the college project, this dip. So before reaching there, I remember speaking to Rishi, and Rishi was like, "It's great you want to do this, but make a plan. It doesn't matter if that plan works out or not, but make a plan before stepping there." So I made a plan. I made a plan of visiting the village of Malum, especially, and try to photograph the people of Malum and the landscape of Malum, and also try to photograph Iram and Iram's journey to the election. So now these everything has been happening because of this act called the Armed Forces Special Power Act. And this act authorizes the army extraordinary immunity and from legal actions and licenses to shoot and arrest people on mere suspicion. And I guess because of this act, the number of cross firings had been increased a lot. So my book is called 1528 because it has been alleged that 1528 people were extrajudicially killed by the Indian armed forces between 1979 to 2012 in Manipur, a northeastern state of India. So it was 16th, I guess it was the 17th of October. I reached Manipur, and a lot, and everything changed. I guess whatever I had read about Manipur was totally different, because yeah, ground has their own rules, and it's different than reading just articles. So uh, so so I'll just go through a few pages of my book. Yeah. These are a few spreads of the book that I'd made. While working in Manipur, what happened was I got associated with this group called IFAM, which is Extrajudicial Execution Victim Families of Manipur. It's an organization where formed by the widows of the people who got extrajudicially killed. So this group was actually filing all the data collection forms, so that they could present it to the Supreme Court that points out all the allegations against the Indian Army. And so when I went up to them, I remember, so the day, I guess it was the 18th of October, yeah, Iram was announcing her political party called Praja, People's Resurgence and Justice Alliance, at the Imphal Press Club. So I reached there, and I remember, I hear her talk. I wasn't expecting to meet Iram Sharmila the very first day of my shoot. And then there I met this photographer, or a journalist rather, who pointed me up and asked me like, "Come on, who are you? Like, I haven't seen you around." So I went up. I told her that I'm from NID. I'm doing a project about Iram Sharmila and Malum massacre, and if she could help me find any lead. So that is when she spoke to me about this organization. So the next day I go to this organization and tell them what I'm here for. I tell them about what I want to do, and I ask them if I could volunteer for them. So I guess volunteering for them was the turning point of my project, because there I began understanding the enormity of the issue. So I still remember it was the next week of my work, and I asked them, Could you show me the Iram? Could you show me the Malum massacre file?" And so they took me to this cupboard, and they opened the cupboard, and I could see a lot of folders, segregated year wise. So I asked them, "What is this?" And that is when they tell me that these are 1528 These are folders containing 1528 extrajudicial killings from 1979 to 2012. And to be honest, I was shocked. I was taken aback. Instead of pulling out the Malum massacre file, I just saw 33 year of violence. So before coming to Manipur, I thought Malum massacre was the worst that had happened. But this day, when I opened the cupboard, I realized that such things have been happening for 33 years, and people from Calcutta or other parts of India had no idea about it. And I guess that day, this whole motive of this project shifted from completing a college project or a school project to making a making something important, because these are important, these are real lives we are talking about. And the people whom I was working with were more like family, because I was staying there for, like, the first time I went there, I was staying there for around 150 days. And that was also the time when demonetization has struck. And I could realize how the very people whom I worked with were taking care of me without knowing who I am and where I'm from. So it was more like working for someone whom you know, like trying to help them out, trying to make their stories told. And that is how. So these folders which came out from that cupboard contained data collection forms, which had newspaper clippings, which had information about the perpetrator, which had FIR reports. And these FIR reports became the text for, or rather became the reason how I saw Manipur, or rather guided me to look at Manipur in a certain way. I also began photographing Manipur in high contrast black and white, so that to match the visual identity of the old Xerox and the photocopied material that I was coming across as evidences to the thing. So this entire book, when you go through it, you won't, you constantly have this idea of, or rather this question of, are these photographs made by the photographer or are they archived? But my idea was not to tell about who the photographer or the is till you reach the end of the book. It was more about what was happening in Manipur. And once you go at the end of the book, you come across this index page where all the photographs that are from archives are given their citations, and the photographs which are made by me are separated. So in the end, you realize which photographs are what, or like where it has been taken, or rather where it has been made, and which are from the archive. So yeah, I kept following the text, and I kept following the stories that my friends told about disappearances and encounters, and the life after it. Yeah, and so this I kept doing. 2016 I began. 2017 I applied for this grant called Al-Qazi photo book grant, and I'm super grateful that I got the grant. And with that, I'm again revisited Manipur. Till then I did not have my jury yet. So till jury happened, I had already made couple of books, around 15. I guess I had made around 8 dummies till then, about understanding how I would want the book. At first, the book, I had made 2 separate books. One fat book, which was more, which contained photographs, which were photographs which I had made in the entire journey or during my stay. And there was this other book, which was the archive, the book of archives, on which the entire thing is reflected on. So yeah, these are the set of books that I had made. So the book which is marked A is the fat book, which kept growing from 2016, 2017, 2018, a visual diary, which were basically reactions to the book of archives that I had made. Then I made another version of it, which was, so these are digital prints. These are prints from Xerox with a different kind of binding to see how the body of thing works as a whole. So then I again visited Manipur in 2017 and 18, and that is when I came across the family album, and which I guess gave me another view of Manipur. When I was looking at Manipur in my first trip, it was more about the protest, the riots, the killings, the everything else. But this time, the photograph that I was looking at were photographs from uh, birthday parties, weddings, and it created a lot of difference. Showed me a life, made me understand about how everything goes side by side in this place, with along with so many violence and bloodshed happening everywhere. So this happened, and finally the book came to this form, which is basically a folder form. The book is loosely bound, so that every page comes out as a form of newspaper. It's loosely bound and held by elastic. It resembles a police or a government official file. And yeah, that's the book. So with this book, what happened, or rather with this body of work, I applied for this another grant, or this scholarship, fellowship, called the Magnum Foundation Social Justice Fellowship. And that is, I was super happy that I got selected that time. And so we go there, and there are around 9 people attending that workshop with 3 mentors, and this person called Fred Richin, who is the director from ICT. So he does the main lectures, and I'm super grateful that I could attend his classes. So the entire practice is, you go there, you photograph the city based on a, so you make a body of work in America, on which basis your mentors select you, and then you do a body of work once you come back to your country. So I was trying to look at this couple who fell in love with each other from Istanbul, and who had to come to USA in search of best tomatoes. And since it's not in Istanbul, it's not accepted by the community where 2 women fall for each other. They had to leave Istanbul. They moved to Argentina, and for love, how they traveled Argentina for better tomatoes. And then, when the time in Argentina was coming over, they wanted to shift to Mexico, but then they thought, why not apply for a residency artist visa in USA? And that is how they shifted to USA, and that is how I met them. And I was trying to understand how uh, a stranger feels in this country. So when I met them through my friend called Ozge, who was also a participant at the fellowship, and she introduced me to this couple. And soon, 3 of us, we began talking about uh, how is it for them, and what they feel about this new country, and how alienated do they feel. And because I was feeling the same of being a stranger in a new land, this led to, I got selected by another mentor called Amy, and soon I began this body of work called Field Guide to Contaminated Wonderland. Okay, so this body of work I began in 2018 after coming back from New York. I spent around 3 months doing this body of work. So it's based on this Unilever factory, which started making thermometer from 1983 to 2000 in Kodaikanal, and started dumping mercury laced waste in the forest nearby, contaminating the whole area. And despite of ample international environmental and medical research pointing to the hazards of mercury contamination, the local community continues to believe, or they are made to believe, the land is safe for habitation, and they live in denial. So the year when I began this body of work, that very year, this these families were compensated. And even then there were families which weren't compensated, but they were the minority. And it was a different politics all around, because when I visited there, the factory still stands. No one really, the tourists who are coming to that place, they don't really know how this factory is responsible for contaminating this land and the people who are living here. And so I was trying to photograph the effects of mercury, which are very invisible after contamination, and how to make people realize that even though Kodaikanal looks all okay, it's not okay. So this is also a work in progress about how people react to uh, this place, about how we are blind towards these particular lies when we visit places like Kodaikanal, but we don't know that what had happened here. And so my idea was to create markings for people, or rather make people aware of what had happened in Kodaikanal, and hence when people visit there, they know whom to blame. So this was all. So this is again, I revisited the same body of work, tried writing on it and trying to figure out. And I'm like, I think all the work that I do are all came from mistakes of figuring out what I want to do. and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. And so this is a good example of the work in progress that I'm doing these days. And so I'm also planning to make terrariums based on Kodaikanal, because and I'm making small closed environments to maybe next time when I go back, I would want to make small terrariums from this contaminated land. Yeah, and these are a few of them. And then I came back to Bombay, hoping that I will look for jobs, but uh, because I was working in Manipur and Kodaikanal and places, environments which are not known to me, and so I guess why not give myself a break? And also I was getting a bit broke, or rather a lot broke, and parents were like, okay, I think it's time for you to do some job, but I was still very I don't know, because I don't have the portfolio for applying for a job, I guess. So I came to Bombay. I thought of maybe why not try Bollywood, but didn't work out that much. And then sadly lockdown started. But I think one good thing that happened during the lockdown was I got selected for this year's Dupe Sport Masterclass, and I was super grateful to all the mentors and the people who were doing it, because I think I got to learn a lot about the world and how people can address those specific issues in different forms. And that is when I came up with this project called 100 Seconds, about how the virus had made me realize how we are all connected. And this is basically a representation of the chaos that's happening in my mind due to all the collective visual imagery which keeps coming back to me when I close my eyes. The Bulletin of Atomic Science Society unveiled the doomsday clock on January 23rd, 2020. We are 100 seconds to doom. And there is this video. Yeah, that's that. Whew.
Thank you, Rohit.
Thank you, Nalini.
It was quite an eclectic mix of work, and
Thank you.
I really liked every bit of it. And we have few questions, but
Hmm.
first of all, I want to ask uh, one question came to my mind after seeing the 100 seconds.
Yeah.
So, how did this idea, matlab, I can see the questions which is actually faced by humanity right now.
Hmm.
And utilizing every kind of material, using text, using news footages, then some microscopic images of microscopic surroundings, environment, landscapes, sort of, and then you have your scribbles. So, how did you conceptualize this
Hmm.
and put together this and decided on a video format, as in
Hmm.
the form in which you came up with the
Yeah.
idea?
Yeah, I guess so. So this year the theme for the Jupes Word Masterclass was reset, and I was trying to uh, do a commentary on the time I, or rather we, are living in right now. This whole idea of being in lockdown and being exposed to the screen, right? Like, like every day there is the bad news, and then like there are fires in Amazon, then there is this and that, then there's water level rise, there's melt. So, and then our country is also going to turmoil with everything happening around, with people beating each other up, with so I guess I began feeling very anxious and paranoid, and I was feeling how the entire world is crumbling, and this whole idea of we are all connected. Something happened in China, and the entire world is getting affected, and also this whole idea of urgency. Of how a small tiff from, say, a cow vigilante beating and killing two people down in a village can raise tensions between can raise the whole fear of Islamophobia, which can again raise tensions to tum Pakistan bhejunga. From there it goes to tension between India Pakistan. Look what happened at Pulwama and Balakot. So, and my idea is both these nations are nuclearly charged. And if a war breaks out between India and Pakistan right now, it's not only us getting fucked, the entire world is getting fucked.
True.
And that ways, this 100 seconds was a time which was given by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists this year, right after Trump had made an attack in Iran, killing their general, and that is the time when they pushed from 2 minutes to 100 seconds. So right now, if we don't talk about it, in recently, a few days back, a world climate clock was installed in New York, which says we are 7 years and certain days away from
The doom.
extinction. Yeah, from doom. So these checks was always there, and I was trying to think that like it's not just a small fight on the road. This fight may lead to. It's more like a butterfly effect, dragon. Yeah, the ripple effect. Okay, now my idea of this work was to create a web based mind map kind of a thing, where all the videos that I'm referring to can be accessed when you click on it. The videos that I am referring to, the news. So throughout the work, all the videos that you come across will be active on that web page, how I go through it. So that is the plan, but for this workshop, I have no idea how to make that thing happen, and everything I was trying on my own. So the music I created on GarageBand, getting like trying to think of what can be the thing. So I tried, and I have no idea about making. So I just put everything in iMovie and try making something out of it. Because every time I try to talk about wall demolition and then talk about, okay, I'm looking at microscopic slides. So the microscopic slides also came from. So I told you, right, in Kodaikanal, I'm trying to look at
Yeah.
terrariums and things. So I began making small terrariums after the lockdown began, because I wasn't being able to go out. Then I got myself a microscope, trying to understand, or rather trying to look at the room where I was staying in, the invisible part of it. Then what happened was, one day I saw visual pattern similarity between the microscopic world and the world news that I was reading. And then I was like, okay, so what you see is basically what I'm seeing in my head when I close my eyes, of this chaotic behavior of, this rapidity of the news information that keeps hitting us. And by the time you finish reading an article about one particular news, there's another news with 25 other articles where you don't understand. So
True.
this whole idea of getting bombarded with information, and then you how you feel when you switch off the screen, when you close your eyes, about this uneasiness. And so I tried to make that into, so this, what we saw was more like a trailer to what I want to do. So this becomes, and how do I say, like if I want to pitch it to someone asking me how I want to make something, this would be the thing that I would show. And yeah, this is the body of work, and that is how it came together.
Because it does invoke a feeling of anxiety if one watches it. Like too many things are happening at once, and
Yeah.
one is
And
not able to
mhm,
figure out what is happening
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
We have question from Ganesh.
Okay.
So, Bhagav, Ganesh, can
Ganesh,
you unmute your mic?
Hello.
Hi, Ganesh.
Yeah, hi, Rohit.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi.
I would like to. I'm not sure if this is a very good question or not. So,
No, no, go ahead.
just yeah. So, I just wanted to know. So, how do you look at this project with respect to the political situation there in Manipur,
Hmm.
and on the Indian Army as a regard of those crossfire and this violation that happened during the project?
Can you please come again and go a bit slow?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I was asking in the 1528 project,
Hmm.
how has your perception changed, and
Hmm.
how do you look with respect to the so-called the political situation raised in Manipur and
Hmm.
on the Indian Army as a regard of those crossfire and this violence.
Yep. Yep. I think while growing up in school, there was always this, we want to be an army, we want to join the soldier. It was always a thing, I guess. And looking at movies, being commander was always a thing about looking at up at an army as an hero, saving us, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
then before reaching Manipur, I read a book called Mother, Where Is My Country, a book by Anubhav Bhosle, which talks about army's violences on places like Manipur, or rather AFSPA
okay,
and the traits, right? Which gave me an idea of, okay, they rape women and they say it's an act of war. So it started changing my perspective about how people can use power. Okay, that was step one of because the book starts with a chapter which is very gory and which says blood is sticky, and it discusses about how a woman was raped multiple times by army officials. Now that was all research, right? So I go to Manipur, and that was the first time I'm seeing a place which has so many armies, so many convoys. Like every 5 minutes you see a convoy. You go to the market, there are people walking with guns whose metal is being brushed against your hand, that coldness. So it scared the shit out of me, to be honest. So I was also using a very small camera, which did not make me stand out, and it was more like, okay, I was photographing my experience about how I feel, not looking at it. It was more like, yeah, this is the place, this is what happened. And then I came across the files which spoke about the people's story and not the army story. And I guess uh, that was the first time I realized, if the first notion about how if the army is with you, you should feel safe. But this time it was the other way around. It was more like if the army is around, you are as scared as an insurgent group around. Because I read stories, or rather, I read incidents where it was said as you hear a knock at your door at 3 at night, okay, and it's you are the head of your family, and you have a wife, you have a daughter, you have your mother. You open the gate and you find insurgents standing at your door, and they say, let us stay the night, and we go away tomorrow morning, and if you don't allow us, we'll kill your family. So you, in order to save your family, you allow them to stay. Next
Yeah.
morning, they leave without harming you. Within 2 days, there would be spies and people who would inform the so-called army that insurgents were here in the building or in the village. In 2 days, army officials will come, pick that man up without asking or saying anything, killing him in front of his family. And when his family would go up to the police saying that ye hua hai, they won't write the FIR. And these were the things which I was handling at the IFAM organization. These were the notes which I was telling. This was people who were telling me about how a father came back after his 7 year son was killed after 14 years. Like I said, you waited for 14 years. He's like, I'm so scared.
Mm.
How do you do that? So yeah, my notions has changed a lot. It's so since the basic of my work began with this organization, I know where I stand, but also I know I'm an outsider in a place like Manipur. I don't belong from here. So because it's a profession that we talk about, we cannot blame a profession. It's always human in the end of the day. Like just saying army is bad doesn't really solve the problem here. Saying insurgents are bad, because the whole idea of insurgency is Manipur is also very political. It's not just insurgency or rather terrorism. It's a lot of, it's my land, you are killing my ancestors and taking my land away. It's a lot personal than we think from the mainland think of. So there are a lot, like many times a father is killed and that's why the son joins the insurgent group to avenge. And it's vice versa, they avenge. And cross-firing some mistakes of power, it's understanding these dynamics became more clear. And after the first visit, the second and the third visit were based more on my friends and their stories. So my notions started evolving with them. Yeah, I hope
Mm.
I answered you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
thanks.
Rohit, really touching work. Really
Thanks,
like
Bhavya.
how you connected with people and how your perception also changed. Uh, like, did you face any problems, like first-hand problems on
Yeah,
field?
I think since I was associated with that IFAM group and I was visiting the court every day, the
Hmm.
cops and the army knew me.
Okay.
So, and see, it's a profession. Like it's like saying teachers gande hai. Now all
Hmm.
teachers are not bad. Now all teachers
Yeah.
are not good either. So you figure a way out of understanding whom do you follow, whom do you listen to. So there I had friends who are from the army, who are from the police, who told me that yeah, things are bad and fucked up in the inside. So what do you say to that? And it's in all profession. Like come on, look at our profession. Everyone is fucked up in their own ways. But we are still as individuals still not that harmful for the so-called society. But when you place similar people in that, just imagine, man, like armies are going to a place where they don't know what the language they speak. Like Manipuris don't, like, themselves don't speak all the languages that's being spoken in Manipur itself. So, so how do you say? And come on, like the way they shoot out people is because they say "tu chinky dikhta hai." That is the statement. That is how they segregate people and shoot them out. So these were statements written on reports and files, and which you can't get out of your mind. And in a place like Manipur, where internet is always a problem, and I was staying alone, these things keep, you read these things and go to sleep. And then you wake up fearing, what the fuck, man? Like police, army, safe. What is safe? And it's strange, right? How Manipur, a more like curfewed land where things are not on after dark, started spreading. Like after I began working in Manipur, right now living in Bombay, I had a similar feeling with lockdowns and curfews and no one can go out. And then look at the protests that's been happening. Look at Kashmir, what's been happening, and everything gets connected about this fake news and newspapers. So that's why I said, like, I'm saying everything because in a way this all gets connected somewhere or the other. Yeah.
Hmm.
Rohit, I wanted to ask one thing.
Mhm.
When an artist prepares a work or engages himself or herself uh, with a subject which is very kind of disturbing and challenging, it often becomes a baggage
Mm-hmm.
when that project comes to a halt or when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But the artist seems to carry that
Mm-hmm.
thing
Mm-hmm.
even after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you see this situation? Does it happen to
Yeah, I
everyone?
think projects are nothing but a part of your lives, right? Once you begin a work, it doesn't end until and unless you die. Like, because every day you keep thinking about it, right?
Exactly.
And I think everything is a work in progress. Like concluding it would be the dumbest thing to say कि मैंने समझ लिया. Like, come on, people there couldn't समझो it. Iram Sharmila is still figuring out how to talk. Who the fuck am I to go and say that? Yeah, मैं समझ गया कर. So I think, and people start doing the work which affects them, right? Like I think that is how I go towards something, or rather, which affects me, and it literally can't stop affecting you after a point of time. It will be there. Its intensity can be high and low, and like you can have peaks, but then so you will go back to it. So I think, yeah, like so that's why it's all my work are kind of work in progress. The book which I made is more like addition zero to my journey to Manipur. So yeah, it's a
Great.
long fucking journey.
And
So
how many? Okay. Yes, Baba.
yeah, Nalini, you can complete. Then I'll ask.
Okay. One more question actually. So, how many explorations do you think it's required
Hmm.
to, as in, come up with a suitable form when it comes to images, as in
Hmm.
deciding first to decide on a suitable form, as in
Hmm.
what it should be, a video or a photo book
Hmm.
or an animation, or
Hmm.
whether it could be everything. And so, how do you go about deciding these things? Like,
Making
what is the
mistakes.
process? Yeah, absolutely.
Making mistakes, a lot of fucking mistakes. Like keep doing mistakes. Like because I think once you make a dummy, if you have an hard copy of it, if it's a video, if you render it and see it, like every edit you make a rendered form of it and see it. Like it's very difficult to say. Like uh, see, I think like editing photographs, like first day when you come back after you shoot and look at them, you're so emotionally connected to your photographs, you can't say कि ये photograph गंदा है. कोई आके बोल देगा this is bad photograph, you go like what the fuck man, shut the fuck up. But the same thing, the same edit, you put it out after 3 months, you yourself will be more confident telling कि this doesn't go with the entire thing, even though it's a good photograph on its own. And it's like that. That I think that is the chain that works out with figuring it out of whether it works or not. And with this edit, you keep on doing it because, as I said, for the last body of work, 100 seconds, my intention were not to make a video of it, but in the end, to tell people about the everything that I was telling and to talk about the urgency instead of me showing microscopic slides separately. I thought this would be a faster way of communicating for now. So yeah, so because it also depends on where right now the audience is mostly screen with N and P and O like that, right? So everything has changed, right? So the form can't be same anymore. So we need to figure out different forms for different things. Yeah, so they
Project
can't be, yeah.
as per the demand of.
Yeah.
I guess we have no.
Yeah, I have
So,
a question.
okay.
So, Rohit, like the book that you produced and like the video, yeah, the specifically for the Manipur project, like
Hmm.
you would have sent it back to people or shown them, right, who are
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
How was their feedback? How did they respond to
Hmm.
that? As an
Hmm.
as an artwork which talks about the issue which they
Hmm.
lived through.
Hmm.
How was their feedback?
Yeah, so when I guess that was the best moment when I sent the book to Ifam, people of Ifam, to Nina, the person, the head. She was really happy, and it was her and other women who started sharing the Facebook post and they were like, "Yeah, we are happy that you put our work that we have been doing for the past 4 or 5 years from 2012 to 2016, that it's out as visual evidence in this form." So I think that was the best gift to me, or rather, a supporting hand which says, "Yeah, you can work ahead." Yeah, that was, and I guess every time I was making a consolidated edit, so I had made 12 main edits, out of which there were 3, 4 main edits. So
Mhm.
all those 3, 4 edits were shown to Nina for sure. Like, this is what is done. If you say it doesn't
Mhm.
go, it
Mhm.
doesn't go. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Great. Okay. So we'll also request audience, like you are not audience, you are friends. We can just
Yeah.
talk. Feel free to join the conversation. Just say hi also.
The asking question is a tough job.
Yeah, it feels formal, like you have those
Yeah.
webinars. Like,
Yeah.
hmm.
So, Rohit,
So,
how has been your journey? Like, how do you feel when you were initiated back in 2013
Hmm.
to photography and to now in 2020 after uh, having touched uh, क्या कहते
yeah, like starting your work
हैं?
from a very abstract theme, which is
Hmm.
more like your expression,
Hmm.
the sketches. Then you talked about this Alien Wala project, and now
Yeah.
you're talking about the social issues. So you worked on the diverse,
Hmm.
uh, themes.
Hmm.
So do you plan, or you have any upcoming project plan, or
I
it will
think
come from somewhere?
no. I think my right now my present plan is part two of everything, like Manipur, Kodaikanal, like part two of Manipur, begin Kodaikanal properly and set this 100 seconds properly up. Like this is and then figure a job out and pay rent because I'm very broke. Yeah, because yeah, I feel happy. I feel I'm glad my, to be honest, my parents supported me for so long. As simple as that, or else it would have been really difficult. Uh, yeah, like I did not want to make a portfolio like just for the sake of it. I really want to experiment, and I think and that's why I'm super grateful to NID to let me experiment any fucking thing I wanted to. Like yeah, that was, I could do anything, and I think anyone who is getting that space to experiment and make mistakes and show it and talk to friends about it, I think that really helped. And even so, yeah, the only grievance is I don't have a job. Apart from that, I'm cool, man. Like, yeah, that's
Nice.
it. I'm broke. Apart from that, yeah, it's okay.
Okay, I'm sure
Yeah,
something great would turn up.
I really hope Bhargav,
Yeah.
man.
Great, Rohit. So let's wait for a minute if we have anyone who want to share anything. We have a message from Isha saying
You
your
100 seconds was
work.
awesome.
Thanks, Isha.
She's joined from mobile, so she can't join on the chat. No problem. So, Rohit, really glad to know like how you're emotionally connected to the work and the authenticity of it. It's a great form it came out, and you're still like connected to all the feeds.
Yeah, trying.
So amazing.
And the experimentation with the works. I really
Yeah,
like the usage of media. So that
yeah,
was
like
really great.
how you say mistakes like
Yeah.
in a very fun way. That's a
Yeah,
very
I think
important quality. Yeah,
because I think mistakes are so honest, right?
yeah,
When you make a mistake, you're not pretending to be anything. You're just making it,
True.
and then you see it and you're like, okay, it's not that bad.
right.
Yeah,
Great. And I see in your backdrop you are still drawing the monsters on the wall.
yeah, yeah, man.
I remember
Basic.
I used to tell you monsters. The Okay, so I think since we don't have questions, we can, Nalini, you can give
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
closing note and
Well, there's uh, there's no closing note as such, but
Yeah.
thank you, Rohit,
Let's
for
meet up
joining us
for a
and
smoke.
sharing with us your journey so honestly. And I am still, your works are actually going in loop in my mind. So thank you for
Being
that.
with us. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank
Yeah.
you, audience, for joining us for
Yeah.
this
Thank you so
session.
much. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
Okay.
Ta-da, guys.
Thank you all. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rohit.
Bye.
See you.
Ta-da. Thanks super much,
Bye.
both. Ta-da. Okay.